Alright. So in the spirits of moving forward, let's press Ctrl Space and let's go to our blueprints folder, systems, points of interest, and this is the system that we want to update. Now, you can create whatever we're going to create in the POI manager if you want, but for me personally, I like to have managers separated from each other. So let's right click and let's go to blueprint class and create a new blueprint. So click on blueprint class, let's select an actor and let's call this something like blueprint unit data runtime manager. Okay, let's open this and let's place it here and let's go to our event graph, remove these, and we can start with event begin play. Now, before we continue, what I'd like to do actually is to open the test items sheet we made earlier, and I want to copy the elements we made for the units. So something extremely similar to our data table here. So on any unit we click, we have this data table. I'm going to copy the exact same data table with the exact same headers to our sheet. This is very important. So that's step number one. So this is a sheet that I was working with, and I will leave a link in the description if you want. You already have access to this, but anyway, I'm going to copy the elements and I'm going to come here and press on Ctrl V to override everything. And you can keep this at row name, no problem. Now, let's go back here and let's start with our first element or our first node. And that is again, build Google Sheet, download link and get a CSV. Let's add this here and let's create a variable and let's call it sheet URL. Let's set this to string and let's copy the link. So I'm going to go to share and I will copy the link. Right now, this is a public sheet, so keep that in mind. I will paste this link here. So let's click on compile first and then paste the link and let's click and drag and connect that here. And let's enable this. Now let's compile. From the call on complete, let's create a custom event. So let's click on add event and add a custom event, or you can create an event dispatcher. So we can create an event like so, place it here. And on the create function, you can either create a matching function if you want to have function here, or a matching event so we can stay in the same graph. So that's both are fine. It's really up to you. So let's say on sheet download. Okay. So I'm going to click and drag to have a click on B to get a branch. I will get the callback information and I will break the runtime data table info. And let's start with the was successful. Next, I'm going to click from true and I will type make CSV info from string and I will connect the string here like so. Now on false, let's print a string. So this is here. If it's not successful, type that here. Connect the response as string to false like so. So just in case if we need to see the error messages, this would help us debug anything. So next we want to get another branch node and I want to promote the out CSV information to a variable. So promote this to a variable because we want to use it later and connect this to true. We can add these like so and things are super organized. Now, this is the part where we need to create a function. So let's create a function and let's call it something like build runtime data from CSV. Okay, we can create an input with the CSV information, or we can use this out CSV info here and connect it to the nodes we want to use it for. Now, there is a node, it's called get row value as string, and this is the node we want to use multiple times for each column, and we will connect the CSV information here. And for the row key, we want to have a row key here. So the row key, just to be on the same page, when we click on any of these points of interest in our construction script, if you remember, well, if you are one of my students, we build this together, so you know what we built. If you are not one of my students, if you didn't take my Unreal Engine course, in the construction script, we have the following. We have get data table row, and we have a variable here. It's called data table row name. So the data table row name, this is here 70, and if you click here, if you scroll down to number 70, you can tell here like this is 70, for example. And if we go to our sheet here, 70, this is our row name. Okay, so every point of interest for our residential units have a number. This variable here, we want to have something similar here. So let's go to variables, click on variables to make a new one, and let's call it something like row key. And let's set this to a name and click and drag and connect this here. Now, don't worry about the value here because we will have another node or function to get the values values of our rows of the complete sheet. So if you have 100 element, then it will get it 100 times. If you have 50 times, 500 times, whatever. So this will stay empty. Both these we will fill them with the functions we have from here. So don't worry about that. Let's just create this together. So let's bring this function we're making so we can connect here as well. And let's open it. So the column name then, if you open your sheet, and this must be the exact same. We have listing ID, floor number, total area, market value, and so on. Okay. And as you may remember, or as you may also know, this is the exact same structure that we also have here. So we have listing ID, floor number, total area, and so on. All right, let's continue then. Let's go back here and we want multiple of these. So we need to copy these one by one, listing ID. And I don't want to copy the row name because we don't technically want it in this scenario. So we can start from here, from the listing ID. So next is floor number. What you want to do is press here, press Ctrl D, and the column name should be the floor number. So I'm going to press Ctrl C and I will paste that here. So we need multiple and let's do that real quick together. So listing ID, floor number, then have total area, copy the exact same name. It must be the exact same. If it's capital, if it's not, should be the exact same. So market value, then we can type here bedrooms, bathrooms, and we need a couple more. Go back here. We have the listing status, then we have the furnished status, and finally we have the orientation. Okay, so we can make sure that we have listing ID, floor number, and so on, just like so. This data table in our Unreal project and the data table from Google Sheets, they are both using specific structure. So I'm going to press Ctrl space, and here under structs, we see that we have F unit data filter. And if you open this, you will see that we have our values and they are the exact same. So listing ID, floor number, total area, and so on. So the information we get from our data table, we want to place it in this structure. And we want to send this structure to our point of interest. So in the point of interest here, if you go to event graph and we go to create widget panel, you can see that we have this structure here. So this here, if you hover, you see we have bedrooms, bathrooms, and the value, and so on. So all this information, we want to unlink this and bring the new structure we've created or we are creating now with this information. So to make a structure, what you want to do, to right click and type make, then the name of the structure. So if we type the name of it, and it's called unit filter, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So make F unit data filter, and this will give us a structure. And in the inputs, we have the values here, listing ID, floor number, total area, and so on. So what you want to do then is to connect the return value of each element, get row value as string of each column name to its column name here. So listing ID goes to listing ID, floor number goes to floor number, total area, market value, and so on. So let's do that. Now, the listing status and the furnished status, this is slightly more tricky because we cannot do this. We want to somehow match the return value of our listing status with the listing status here, and we have 5 states. So we want to match them and then choose the correct state. And after testing and messing around, I came up to this solution. So first of all, we want to add 2 enumerations to our blueprint temporarily, and then we can remove them. So I'm going to add variable, and let's call this will be listing, and I'm going to type E and listing status. So POI listing status. Let's add another variable and let's call it furniture, and I'm going to type E POI furniture status. So that's step number 1. Let's bring this, get it, let's bring this, hold Ctrl to get it, and let's place them here. Now, what we want to do is to right click and search for make map. Okay, under utilities, map, we have make map, and think of a map like a key. It will match the string with the enumeration. So if we have 5 values here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then we need 5 values or key and its value. So let's add 1, 2, 3, and 5. There we go. We have 5 now. So to make this map into a string and an enumeration, we want to get the string and connect it to the key, and we want to get the listing or the enumeration and connect it to the value. And you will see now we have these values and these keys. Okay, so we want to do the same on our furnished status, connect the string to the key and the furniture to the value, and we will disconnect them in a moment, but one by one. So before we disconnect, because if you disconnect like so, this string on the key will go away. Now there is no way to change the type of key when you right click, so that's why we connect it like so, and now everything is set like this. Okay, so what you need to do then is to set the values. So on the value 4 we want to choose coming soon, value 3 here we want to choose rented, then sold, then reserved, and for the first one, so once you set any value it will maintain it, which is great. We want to set or select available. Okay, and we want to write the exact same value in the key. So in the key here, we need to choose or to type coming soon, then rented, and so on. So sold, reserved, and if you click Alt and click, this will disconnect and we can type available. And now we have available. So that's the trick you want to do to have the key and its value like so. Okay, connect and then disconnect after you select the values. Now, from map, so now we have a map, we need to click and drag and search for find. Okay, and in the find we want to set the return value like this, and this will give us the value, the enumeration value. Voila, done. Easy peasy. Well, I hope it's easy peasy. So now let's do the same here. So we have only 3 states for furnished, so we don't need 4 or 3. So right click and remove key value pair, right click, remove key value pair, unfurnished, partially furnished, and this one is fully furnished. Okay, so we need to find, and let's connect this here. So if you click and drag and hold, press R, that will add a reroute node. I like to use the reroute nodes to stay organized. And now we can connect this here like so, and I will be back in a second. I want to set the values here, so just to tell you, unfurnished and so on. So that's the magic of Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. Okay, finally we have the orientation, and this is slightly different because this is a very simple string to integer. This is slightly more complex string and an enumeration, and here in the orientation we have another structure. So click and drag from here, and let's make orientation structure first, and from the return values, since we have 4 of these, we need 4 return values. And to demonstrate what we want 1 for north, east, south, and west. That's why 4. And what we have in our logic, in our sheet, we have this sentence, let's say. So we have north equals true, imagine, then east equals true, and so on. And we want to search for each one of these. So I'm going to copy the values here. Okay. And I'm going to click and drag, and I will search for contain under string. And if in the return value here we see north equals true, then give us true. Okay, and the same for east, south, and west. So let's duplicate this now 3 more times. Let's click on these, let's go to alignment, distribute horizontally, and then click like so and press, I think it was Alt A or Alt Shift A, no, Shift A, yes. Shift A will align these. So these are some nice shortcuts. Let's connect this here in the search in on these 4 elements. And now let's change this from north to east to south and to west. And connect these like so. Beautiful. So we are almost done with the setup. What we want to do, we want to get another out CSV information, okay? And we want to get map keys. And the map keys is basically the rows in our sheet. So each one of these is a key. Think about it like that, okay? So if we have 88, then we will get 88. If you have 500, you'll get 500 and so on. So since this is an array, we want for each loop, so click and drag and press on F to get for each loop and connect this here, like so. Now, for every array element, we want to get its struct. We want to save all these in a map. Right now, we don't have that map, so let's create it. So let me delete the furniture and listing because we use them, we don't need them anymore. Here, under variable, let's create a new variable. And let's call it something like unit data by row name. And let's set this to be a string. Sorry, let's set it to name because the value here is name. So click and set this to name. And let's compile. And under variable type, we want to set this from a single variable to map. Okay. And the value of the map, we want to get our structure. So it's unit data filter. So click on the value here, click here, and let's search for F unit data filter. Now click and drag and let's get this and let's click and let's find add. So for every row key, we want to get that row key, this one, and we want to get its information and we want to add it to our map. Now, this row key here, we also want to set it here as a start. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, we want to add it to our map. So click and type add, and let's go to map, add, and the map we want to add it to is the map we've just created. The row key, you can either connect this here all the way or you can get this row key. So that's why we set it. And for the structure, simply connect and drag this here. And we are 99% done. Let's compile and let's save and let's go to event graph. What we want to do is to send the information from our manager to the point of interest so we can override this value for each point of interest based on its row key. So to do that, we want to create a blueprint interface. That's one of the easiest ways to allow blueprints to communicate with each other. So I'm going to search for this here. And here I'm going to right click, create a new folder, and I'm going to call it RDT, real-time data table. And I will click on this actor and place it here. Okay, so they are grouped together. I'm going to right click and I will go to blueprint and I will go to blueprint interface. I will call it PPI, blueprint interface, and let's call it something like update CSV. Now let's open this and we want to create a new function. So it will create a new function for us already. And let's call it something like update POI data. We want one input for this function. So click and drag, click on the plus here to add a new input. And the input here will be a map. So let's call it something POI data as a start, and we want to set this to name, and we want to set the variable from single to map, and we want to set the value type to our structure. So type F unit filter, and this is the structure we want. Click on it, and this is the output result that we want. Compile and save. Now let's go back to our blueprint here, and from here let's add a sequence node. Click and drag and press on S to add a sequence node, and I want to get the unit data by row name, and I want to write the name of the function we've just created, so update POI data, and let's say for example CSV, so we know what this is. And right click, update POI data CSV. This is the message we want to send, and we want to send it here, and we want to set the value here. Now the target, we need to specify the target, and that will be our point of interest residential unit. We want to implement our interface in this blueprint here. So click on class defaults, class settings, and under interfaces, click on implemented interface, click add, and let's type CSV, PPI update CSV. Okay. And here we will see interface, and if you double click, this will create an event for us. So this event here, let's compile and let's go back. Let's right click and refresh. So for some reason it's gone. So let's delete it and let's double click again because I was searching for this, the POI data. We will need this in a moment. Now let's compile and let's go back to our manager here. So under the target then, what we need to do is to click and drag from here, and we want to get all actors of class, or the actors that are implementing the interface. So get all actors with interface or all actors with class, both are okay. Let's select actors of class, and let's select the POI residential data. So click and type POI residential unit, and out actors connect this to the target. Without for each loop, this is fine. This will get the actors of the class and connect that to the message. So what we want to do is to click and drag from the map, and we want to search for the node find. And here we want to specify the row key for this point of interest. And we've already done that here. So the variable data table row name, that's the row key. So if you go to POI data table row name, click and drag and add this here. So that's one of the first steps we want to do. So what I'm going to do is to get the unit data filter. So let's go to this actor here, unit data filter. I'm going to set it, and I will connect this here and connect this here as a first step. Now, we are setting the color of our point of interest in the construction script. And for that, we have the setup here, okay? So it takes selection from the listing status, and based on the available or sold, we will set a color. So what you can do, we can select all this like so, press Ctrl C, and we can go to the event graph and paste it here, and then connect this here, and you can click and drag from here and break the unit filter, click and get the listing status and connect that here. And click on the break here, and you can click on hide unconnected pins to simplify the blueprint here. Now this is fine, but what I'd like to do in this scenario is to select these, right click, and collapse to a function. It will be just much simpler. And we can type something like update POI color. That's it. And of course, if you want to do the same here, so if you want to remove all of this, connect this, and connect this, we can definitely do that. And I might do it for future updates, but I will leave it as it is for now. So maybe in future, when you download this, you might find this like so. Update POI color with selection. If you don't find it like this, you find it like this. Now you know, no problem. So now this is 80% of the setup finished. So at this point, if you want to test this, we can. So let's go to our level here, and let's press Ctrl space. Let's bring our unit data runtime manager, place it in the level. That's very important. And if you click on play, let's bring our unit inventory here. Click on any of these units, and you will see that it will have the correct value. Of course, right now it does not update every 10 or 15 seconds. We will do that in a moment, step by step. But let's say this here, or this row, is set to all available, yes? So all of it is set to available. So if I want to go back to my sheet and I want to get sold here, so we can type sold, and then let's Ctrl C and Ctrl V. Let's now click on play, and let's click on unit inventory. And as you can see, this is now set to sold. And of course, it updated the color. Beautiful. Okay. Okay. So to recap, we've created a manager where we build the Google Sheet and we do some operations. And this is one of the most time-consuming tasks we've done, where we set the data we want to get, and then we connect all of that in the structure and connect that and add it to the map based on each key we have. After that, we've created a blueprint interface with the input of the name and the data structure, and we've implemented that interface in our point of interest, the residential unit, so we can have the event. So we double click the event, it will create a new empty event for us. Then we find the map, get the data table row name, and we get the colors if you want, and you want to connect from find to the unit data filter like so. Now, let's say you want to update the frequency every few seconds, not only on event begin play. That's very easy to do. So what you want to do in our manager here, click and drag from event begin play, and let's create or define the node set timer by event. And that's step number one. The event, click and drag, and let's go to event dispatcher, create an event, and click on create function and create a matching event. And let's call this update every 10 seconds. And you want to connect this here, update every 10 seconds, to build the Google Sheet, like so, okay? And you want to set the timer here to 10. So you also want to set this to looping, so it will loop every 10 seconds. Don't use a value of 1 or 2 because you will get errors. So right now, let's use 1 real quick together. It will work, by the way, but you will get errors warning you like, hey, you're doing too many requests. I'm going to click on play, and I'm going to go to unit inventory. As you can see, everything now on the top floor is sold. So if we go back to our blueprint here, or to our setup, and let's set everything to sold. It works. It's nice, beautiful. So let's say I want to undo what I did. Press Ctrl Z, give it a second, and it will update. Now, as I said, I don't recommend doing this every second. For me, 10 seconds, 20 seconds is fine. Right now, I don't think we got errors because it's set to public, but when we are using token information, you will get errors on that. So for public, you don't get an error. This is nice, actually. But for private sheets, you want to have like this set to 10, 8, whatever, above that little value. So every 1 second or so, you will get errors. We will see that later in the lesson. Now, the next little topic we want to tackle is the updates of the filter. And this is extremely easy to tackle. So now let me demonstrate when I want to tell the engine to show us only available units. Okay. Right now we see that we have some sold units and availables. So this is what we want to fix. We want to make sure that our filter works as intended. So let's take care of that. I'm going to cancel this and I'm going to get some water, and I will see you in a second.